BMNation.com.
Oh, and this is going to be a good one this morning. I'm fired up about this. It's just too much. Too much.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. The announcers says, I'm Brian Brawdy. And, we got a lot of feedback over the last couple of days as to whether we should be doing the show live in the morning or one in the evening. And I got to tell you, it's trending at like 80%, maybe even a little more than 80%, like 85% of the people logging in, clicking on, sending me messages here and there, say that we should keep this as a live morning show. I kind of dig that. It's a little easier in the summertime, sun's up at 4 a.m. I'm liking that. So I think, unless we have a huge switch of votes today, we're going to keep All Natural Being coming to you live Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern. Of course, we'll have the rebroadcast at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and also 8 p.m. So if you're into the concept of taking in your All Natural Being in the evening, we'll have a rebroadcast at 8. And, we have a library here, a download library. And you can get us on iTunes as well. So that really you get to decide when you listen. May not be live in that particular moment, but it's still content, news you could use, I guess you could say. And why do I think it's news you can use? I go over this every day in my mind as I sit down to write these shows. These are baked fresh daily, handcrafted every day. I sit down and I imagine what are those things that I could say or that I could do? Where I live, this is a big weekend, the area I live in. It's a garage sale weekend, where everyone, goes through their drawers, their junk drawers, their basements, their garages, their attics. Goes through wherever they stuff, all the stuff they don't want anymore, all the little cubby holes, all the little nooks and crannies around their place. Excuse me. And they get rid of all their tchotchke stuff. Put it out in the driveway. There's a massive garage sale, right? Huge percentage of the people that live here participate in it. So for 2 days, may even be a little bit tonight, I think perhaps. But if not Friday night, then at least Saturday and Sunday, people put all their stuff out on the curb. And other people drive around and go, hey, well, that doesn't look like crap to me. I'll give you $2 for it. Or a little bit of bartering going on. Maybe people have some prices set in their minds. But the reason that I bring it up now is I kind of would like our show here to be a big garage sale. And by that I mean, let's think of some of the stuff that you and I can afford to get rid of. Right? Like a big spring cleaning. Let's open the windows and get some fresh air in. Unless you're like me, some of my family, you suffer from allergies. The moment you open the window and get some fresh air in, you start to pay for it right away. Tree pollen. In any event, you get my drift. A big spring cleaning. Take some rugs out onto the back porch, beat them with a broom, get some of the dust out of there, give the house a good dusting, a good vacuuming. Then we go through, we find all of our tchotchke stuff, we get it out, get ready for the big garage sale. So All Natural Being is really like that. I'd like this to go into the nooks and crannies of our minds, the backwaters of our brains, the little cubby holes of our cognition, and get out all of our crap. Put it out on the sidewalk. Put it, see if someone else wants it. Right? I want to go in. I want to remove the blind spots. I want to remove the amnesia. I want to remove get rid of all the ways that you and I have been brainwashed. Because my number one mission, really, it's kind of like my only mission, my sole mission through all natural being, is to make certain, is to guarantee, is to promise you that if you hang out with me throughout the show, that your confidence is going to make a huge comeback. So how do we do that? How do we get our confidence to make a huge comeback? It begins by getting rid of some of our crap. Get rid of some of our flies in the ointment. Some of our intellectual interlopers. How do you like that? Get rid of some of our intellectual interlopers. Put them out for the garage sale. We want some mental wealth. And we do that by getting rid of the penny stocks in our mind. I want this show, I've said it the last couple of days. This will be the last time. I won't say it next week, but I want to give you an idea if you're listening today. I want this show really to spark a renaissance of reverence for who you truly are. I want to rekindle that relationship with you and the person you see when you look in the mirror. Because I believe that's the key to living a life that thrills you. You got to have confidence, plain and simple. Your happiness, your fulfillment, your success, professionally, personally, spiritually, athletically, it depends on your ability to bring your own bold. We're going to talk a little bit about Prometheus. Remember the Greek myth, the god that brings fire. In the process, ticks off Zeus, so Zeus changed him to a mountain peak for eternal torture. Well, you and I, our big garage sale, we're getting rid of the chains. Because once we get rid of the chains, bringing your own bold, good bit easier. You're not tethered. You're not tied down. You're not just boxed in. And for over 30 years now, I've been driven to figure out how we can lose those chains. What are those items that we can put on the folding tables out front, little colored Post-it notes, mark them. Oh, I'd like 50 cents for this, please. How we can get rid of some of those things that are holding us back. So I've been obsessed with uncovering a strategy for authentic, full-hearted, passionate cognitive optimization. Because I think, as you know, you deserve euphoria as a lifestyle. Now, when I say that, I can picture people going, oh, isn't that nice? Brian wants everyone to be happy. No, I don't want you to be happy. I want you to have a euphoric lifestyle. Are you listening to me? Because you're entitled to a life that thrills you. Now, sometimes to get that thrill, you've got to take a little good, a little bad. Got to have a little optimism, a little pessimism. I'd rather you put both of those out on the curb. I'd rather you have just a little ism. No matter what the moment throws at you, we're thrilled to be here still to confront whatever fate throws at us. Because I want the quality of your life to change for the better. Which is why, bottom line, most days, my first priority is your last moments on this planet. When we talk about was I me, it's a bit ironic, really, that one of the most powerful, life-affirming questions you and I will ever ask ourselves comes in the final moments just before our death, maybe even the final seconds for all I know. And I'm sure you've heard before about, your life passes before your eyes in those final seconds or moments. That lightning fast inspection of all of our days, an overall analysis of our life, like thrown up on the big screen in our minds, surround sound, 3D, virtual reality, front and center in our minds, a montage of memories, a visual kaleidoscope of all that we've done, and I suspect all that we left undone. When your lifespan flashes before your eyes, if you're as old as I am, and that's old, if you're as old as I am, thank you for all my friends last week that said, well, at your age, it's really only midlife. I'd have to live to be like 260. But if you remember this show way back when, This Is Your Life, well, that's what we have. Our final moments flashing before our eyes. It's like a This Is Your Life TV show. You and I are going to be forced, like it or not, we don't get a vote, we're going to be forced to evaluate our overall performance. Excuse me. To appraise and tally our impact on this planet. From crib to coffin, cradle to grave. Far and wide, high and low, inside and out, total it all up, bring it all. We're going to be forced to ask ourselves, did my life have true, deep, impactful meaning? Did I live a euphoric life? Did I bring my A game? Giving this run my very best shot. Pulling out all the stops. Living life to my fullest. Not someone else's definition of fullest, but to my fullest. Did I achieve anything of true merit? Instead of constantly being on my own back, will I be able to pat myself on the back? We'll ask, did I matter, even for a moment, in the grand scheme of things? What did I think were the grand scheme of things? And did I rise to the challenge? Did I look at fate at every turn and go, go bug somebody else, dimwit? I'm not falling for your games. I know who I am, I know why I'm here, and I know what I plan on doing about it. So go bug somebody else. When you and I are forced to lay our cards on the table, in those last fleeting instances of consciousness, of our awareness, at least as we know it in a human mind, when destiny demands, show me your hand, what are you going to do? What are you going to have to say for yourself? Will you have squandered all the promise and potential you were born with? Will you have lived out your days as a hobbled soul, as opposed to your true, authentic, all-natural superhuman? Confronted with the question, was I me? The question of your own authenticity. Were you an all-natural being? Or were you some store-bought, upholstered version of what you could have ultimately been? Did you live a life full of watered-down days? Tepid. Blah, blah, neither here nor there. Has the combined meaning of all of my days been damn near meaningless? Was I me? The real me? In this skin bag, you've heard me say this before, this skin bag of thoughts, wishes, feelings, of fears and hopes and dreams, this cognitive carry-all, this clutch I call my mind. Through all of it, was I me? Was I a real human being, impeccably human? Or did I wear a persona, a papier-mâché mask to face the world? Was I true to my core or constantly worried about the herd? Was I masquerading as a designer knockoff? Or can I go on to the next portion of my gig, whatever it is? Can I go on with a smile on my face, my shoulders, my chin held high, knowing that I kicked the door in on this life and did everything I possibly could to make it a euphoric life? Did I keep my safety personas? Right? Did I fall for my ego's tricks? Did I whitewash who I was? Always attempting to be accepted and approved by those around me. All the satellite opinions in my life. As philosopher Sartre called it, it's my being for others. Was my sense of being all about making other people other people like me, appreciate me, like other people feel comfortable around me? Another philosopher, Heidegger, called it the they self, They self. And as you know, if you've listened to these couple months, I call it the committee vote. My always open, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, public pincushion, always accepting opinions. Of course, that might be a bit wordy. Maybe they self. Maybe that's why Heidegger's Heidegger and I'm just Brian. Maybe the they self is a better way to put it. That I walk around in a wardrobe of facade, just hoping to fit in? Was I worried more about fashion than the style of my soul? I've asked you this before. You ever go to the airport, you ever go out somewhere and you bump into like 11 people that are wearing the exact outfit, I think it's called outfits, the get-ups, the exact get-up that was on GQ, or whatever magazine, that dress. Do we live our entire lives like we're on the red carpet, worried about what the photographers, what the experts are going to say about, oh, what designer dress was she wearing? Oh, where did he get his suit? Really? That's going to be our life. Worried about what everyone else thought about how we looked. Are we really going to be comfortable? Having lived watered-down days, deluded, delusional, stymied by a domesticated madness, leaving our soul on the sidelines, a piece of bogus plastic fruit, fake flowers in a borrowed vase. Or are we going to be able to look back and say, let me tell you, I grabbed my gift with both hands. I made my lot in life spectacular. In other words, I really was me. I really did channel my inner superhuman. So I got to ask you, in your closing moments of cognition, and I hope it's years away, right? Looking back over your days, surveying it all, 30,000-foot view, will you be proud or plagued? Will your legacy be laughable or laudable? Will you be able to smile like you mean it, or are you going to have to blush, bow, and shake your head in defeat? Will your life have been a force or a farce? That's the question. The good news is that we don't have to sit around waiting for our final moments, waiting to be interviewed and score ourselves. Throw in another philosopher, Camus, put it, I'll tell you a great secret, my friend. Do not wait for the last judgment. It takes place every day, which is why you and I say all the time, every chance is a second chance. Every chance is the opportunity to say, you know what? I'm going to make a positive change right now. You can do it. At the end of any conversation, chance encounter, as we said yesterday, an hour, a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade, you pick it. You can always look back over that moment right then and go, was I me? Did I handle that the best way I could? My inner superhero or superheroine that let him out for the full ride. The theologist Tillich says that being human means asking the questions of one's own being and living under the impact of the answers that we give to that question. In light of this week's shows, we put ourselves in front of the grand jury. We put ourselves in front of the grand jury. We grill ourselves. We question ourselves. Was I me? Or did I do it for the committee vote? I don't know about you, but when I turn myself back in, I want to drag my soul to the finish line. Crawling, stumbling, smiling. Smiling and spent. I don't want to go back hunched, hobbled, bent over by the weight of all the things I should have done, of all the things I could have become. I don't want to go back that way. So the next time you look in your mirror, ask yourself, was I me? Because I'm quite certain that your answer is going to echo throughout eternity. I think it's going to stick with you. It's going to be in your jacket. It's going to be in your bio. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the psychiatrist, had a great way of looking at it. She says, it's only when we truly know and understand that we have a limited time while we're here. Yes, a limited time on earth. And that we have no way of knowing when our time is up. Tick, 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 ding. Well, that's not a part of her quote, but you get where I'm going. No way of knowing when our time is up. Only then will we begin to live each day to its fullest, as if it was the only one we had. So let me ask you, part of the 20-minute victory could be today. What if this were your last 20 minutes? Imagine another one of Einstein's thought experiments, if you will. Imagine that Prometheus didn't only bring fire, but he brought clarity. He brought lucidity. He brought the ability to see in the dark. In your last 20 minutes, if you had that lucidity, if you were going to think like you truly mean it, how would you be able to answer that retrospective that is your life? Would you be able right now today to go, I knocked it out of the park. I drove it deep. How are you going to be able to answer? I want to thank my friend. Just got a text. The quote, it's a lonely path that leads to the inner self. And it is lonely. Why? Because we ought to be alone doing it. It's us. We can't ask ourselves in terms of the questions, was I me? And then expect someone else to have a vote. And I tweak it a little bit. I would say it's a lone path. Because you don't have to be lonely in this. To get to your inner self, it's a solo path for sure. But as you and I both know, there's a little bit of a difference between being alone and being lonely. So thank you for that quote. So ask yourself, for today's 20-minute victory, was I me? Did I bring my very best to this life? Or am I going to go back faint-hearted? Will I have mastered the art of self-mastery or self-slavery? What will I have done? And it really is, as I said, ironic that the most powerful, life-affirming question comes when we contemplate our own death. What a gig, life. All right. We got a lot to get to today. All right, we'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
IPMNation.com. Speaking of IPM Nation, don't forget 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Reach out. Give me your thoughts, your critiques, any questions that you may have. Also, don't forget, allnaturalbeing.com. Head on over, leave me your email. I'll trade you mine. We're never going to sell it, never going to leave it on the counter of a greasy spoon in the desert Southwest. Never going to have to worry about your information falling into someone else's hands. Send me your email. I'll send you mine. We got a lot to catch up about. A big, 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 big end of June coming here at All Natural Being. All kinds of, we're working on cameras and lighting and getting the studio set. So pretty soon there'll be a video version of our show. We got a lot of cool things that'll be happening. And I want to keep you abreast of what's going on, but I also want to hear what's going on in your life. Drop me a line. Remember, as I've said before, a lot of the things that I read A lot of the things that I do on air, I get the idea, I get the information from people that send me emails and texts and tweets. I also want to thank, I just got another one, 331-684-7685. I hope it's okay. It's my friend Oliver. At the end of your life, he asks, will you be happy with the story you have written? I think it's a great way of looking at it. Great way of looking at it. Thank you, sir. At the end of life. Yeah. Is it going to be a nonfiction or fiction? Will it be fabricated or ferociously real? Will you have been who you ultimately are? So thank you, sir. His quote, at the end of your life, will you be happy with the story you have written? Couldn't have put it any better. Self-mastery or self-slavery? Slavery to the opinions of other people. Which leads me to what I really wanted to talk about today. Oh, you gotta watch me. I need a producer. Someone standing in the back of the room going, okay, let's wrap this up. Gotta get moving. Come on. Let's keep on task. So let's talk about the greatest contributor to irritable brain syndrome. That's my new syndrome, irritable brain syndrome. We talked about it a little bit this week. We talked all week long. We were talking about confidence, wanting to bring the A game back to life. We need confidence to do it. But what allows our confidence to kind of seep out of us like a colander? One of those metal things in the kitchen where you put food in, the water drains out like a colander, like a sieve. What's the greatest thing that allows that to happen? Thin skin. Thin skin, both inside and outside. Buying in to the ideas from the herd or buying into our own head games. Thin skin, inside or out. Now, I want to get to this morning, and this is, people are going to listen to this portion of the show and go, well, Brian, you were being really critical. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? All right? But we want to talk this morning about a term, I have to be honest with you, I'd heard of quarter-life crisis. I really have. But I had never heard of this term. It's called Generation. To be honest, what you think? Did you throw it in like Generation X? Maybe that's what you said? No, not Generation X. You ready? This is the new syndrome. Generation Snowflake. And it's a term that describes a fragile, brittle, thin-skinned generation. Now, I got this from the Daily Mail, but the author, unfortunately, I couldn't get the book on Kindle, so I had to order it. It's coming from overseas. So I'll get a little more into the book, but I wanted just to give you a gist of this article. So I've been doing debate. Okay, so let's see. Who is this? According to the article, some of us are just too thin-skinned. Too thin-skinned. Generation Snowflake is a term for those teens, or fill in the blank, if because I suspect it could happen anywhere. But it talks about this Generation Snowflake. It describes a fragile, thin-skinned generation that can't cope with conflicting news, let alone criticism. And she was talking about a particular speech that she gave, and how people were just in the content of the speech isn't nearly as important because it's a little detailed, and I've already taken up a bunch of our time this morning. So all she did was suggest something that may not have been the norm. And she argues in her book, I find that offensive, which is the title of the book. I find that offensive. She says the Generation Snowflake, they believe that it's their right to be protected from anything they might find unpalatable or objectionable. And she talks about that there's a particular restaurant that's no longer allowed to use sombreros because it's not, what does it say here last year? University banned the Mexican restaurant from giving out sombreros because of racist stereotyping. According to the article, it says in March, Cambridge University, well, there you go. There's your college tuition dollars that work for you. Cambridge University, you'd think someone that would know better, banned the Around the World in 80 Days theme party over fears that wearing ethnic costumes might cause offense. And that students now are demanding universities have safe spaces. Ooh, please, I need another blanket. My name's Linus. And these spaces need to be free from opinions that will make them feel uncomfortable. Well, heaven forbid, we don't want anyone feeling uncomfortable. And according to this article, that there's been a rise of no platforming. And that just means barring someone with controversial views from speaking at any event at all. Now, I want to make sure I got the author's name because I'm really, let's see, Generation Snowflake. Why don't they have the author's name here? Claire Fox. All right, there it is. Sorry, Claire Fox. Too thin-skinned. Too coddled. Ooh, the term that I liked, mollycoddled. I hadn't heard that term before. I guess it tells you what country the author's from. But we're mollycoddling. We're mollycoddling. And look at it today. Good golly. Just go on Facebook. Especially during political campaigns. God love you. If you have an opinion about a political campaign and you put it out on Facebook or Twitter, good for you. You're a braver soul than me. Right? Everyone and their brother, you're being unfriended. I had that happen to me. Some family members unfriend me on Facebook. Family members unfriend me on Facebook. All right, what are you going to do? So the article goes on to say that faced with such thin-skinned students, no wonder Oxford University, again in this special segment, all the good things your college tuition got for you, no wonder Oxford University has introduced, quote, trigger warnings. It's like, I guess it's like a Surgeon General warning on a package of cigarettes. Warning, or like in a bar, hey, if you're pregnant, or now in a bar, if you're pregnant, you shouldn't drink alcohol, or apparently travel to any place where they have mosquitoes, right? So, but warning, these trigger warnings, you may find this subject matter potentially distressing. Katie, bar the door. We don't want to say anything that could be distressing to someone else. Which means Monday morning show, I'm going to come back with a list of 1,000 things that I hope distress people. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Let me tell you a story, because there's a lot of examples where they're now saying, okay, well, we're going to play rugby, but you're not allowed to tackle. You're not allowed to play leapfrog, marbles, anything that's unsafe, anything that could cause somebody, oh, we don't want to do that. They could be offended. Forgetting just for a moment that only the offendable can be offended. If you got a naturally thick skin, which is a great indicator of that you got a spine, the girth of a baseball bat at the fat end, that's what we need, thicker spines, thicker skin. I'll tell you, a few years ago, my oldest son was competing for his black belt, and I'll never forget. The black belt ceremony, there'd be a circle of black belts. The black belt would be placed in the center, and you had to spar. You had to fight, right? It's a black belt martial arts. So there's, from time to time, a punch, a kick, maybe a judo move here or there, a little jujitsu. But on this day, after years, I was so proud of him, years of working to get to his black belt. There was a particular parent there who had twins, and that parent decided that the twins shouldn't have to spar at the very end to get their black belt. This parent felt that martial arts shouldn't be about fighting. And that although everyone else in the group, welcome to do what they want, this particular parent wanted the twins just to be given their black belts minus the sparring. Really. Wanted to be given the black belts minus the sparring. And I thought to myself, sitting there listening to this altercation go down, have you been here the last 6 years? Have you paid attention to what's going on? What this is all about?
Oh, no, that's okay, Brad. I don't want my daughters involved in anything physically violent.
Psst. It's martial arts. That's why we do it. For the chances that one day...
Oh, no, it's about goal setting and honing your determination and blah, 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 blah.
We're going to fight. Now, according to the article, can't play rugby if you're going to tackle somebody. Somebody could be offended. Somebody could be hurt. Somebody could be annoyed. We're raising an entire generation, and maybe you and I are subjected to ourselves, an entire generation that can't take a negative critique without melting down.
Oh, he said some very nasty things. Oh, she was just mean.
Sticks and stones might break my bones, but names will never hurt me. What happened? You got every other nursery rhyme in the book playing all over the place today. What happened to that one? And we've got to be concerned because, if you look at it at the general level, I say every day this show is about you. So let's give me 10 seconds to take on a general level. These are the future leaders of the world, right? And their sense of self is so precariously perched that they even believe that they could emotionally suffer. Oh, well, Brian, people are cruel. No doubt, but that doesn't mean you have to let it in. You don't have to embrace it. People are idiots. Let them be cruel. That has nothing to do with you. It most certainly has nothing to do with your inner superhuman. So forget the global picture of it now. Forget that this is the generation of future leaders. You can't say a damn thing without offending somebody. Forget I said it. Now, let's look in the mirror. Are you and I too thin-skinned? People say something, we don't have enough of an ego shield. Got those little intellectual interlopers that are ruining how we're going to write our story. Whether we'll be happy with the story at the end of our life, as my friend Oliver says. Great way to put it. At the end of your life, will you be happy with the story you've written? Will you? Going to be a bestseller? Or like one of those tchotchke paperback novels you find at some super discount bookstore. Or maybe it'll be an ebook, a PDF. Or maybe you're going to write it on a 3x5 card. Or it's going to be a story that you're proud of. How can you and I write a story if we're going to be proud of where everyone gets a vote? Everyone's so emotionally vulnerable. You can't say anything. Can't say anything. I think Claire Fox is right. She's the director of the Institute of Ideas. And in her new book, I find that offensive. Really? Why do we let people in? Why? We only get treated like a pincushion if we have a big sign that says vacancy, open for business, give me your pins, I'm a catcher, you're the pitcher, I'm the target, you're the arrow, let me have them. Oh, but then I'll be terribly upset. Oh, yes, please. Oxford University, Cambridge University, you'd think they'd know better. So what's with all the higher education?
Oh, no. Got to get a master's, PhD. Got to get this.
A PhD in what? A master's in what? If your master's, if your PhD is such that if someone says something that you find offensive, you're derailed, then what was all the time and effort for? I've said countless times, freedom of speech, huge fan. That's why when people put things up on Facebook, on Twitter, I mean, you got to put something really. I think over the last year, one thing I pulled from Facebook was somebody suggesting they were going to assassinate a political figure. And I'm like, look, every so often you just got to draw the line. But when people have all the negative things to say about me, I leave it up there. Free speech, I think it's a great idea. Not just in this country, but around the world. From people listening all over. The ability to say what you want. I'm digging it. But along with free speech is free communication. Because you absolutely have an inalienable right to hear what you want. You got somebody being cruel.
Oh, he said some very vicious things.
Ignore them. The ego shield, the buffer, whether those critiques are coming from the outside or inside your own mind, ignore them. What are they going to do to you? Unless you agree, yes, okay, here we go. I'll be the co-conspirator. Takes two to tango. So yes, if they have some mean things to say, I'm going to go ahead and inculcate that into the story of my life. I'm going to go ahead and adopt that as my own operating system. I'm going to take that interloper and make it personally important to me. And look at what's happening around the world because of it. Everyone is so thin-skinned. You can't say anything without the fear of stepping on some eggshells. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not made of eggshells. Say what you want. And I have a pretty good sense if you're listening to the show, you're not made of eggshells either. We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
Hey, maybe that's never been a better transition. How much longer are you going to let these mashuganas running around giving you their opinion, saying,
oh, this is what you need to do,
or being mean? How much longer are you going to let them hijack your heart and your head? That's why. Greatest way to irritable bowel syndrome. Greatest way to let your confidence suffer the slings and arrows. Greatest way to do it? Have thin skin. Forget who you are. Let everyone know, oh, I can't cope with outside opinion. I can't cope. It's too hurtful. Well, it's only hurtful if you allow yourself to be hurt. It's communication. It goes two ways. So if we're going to focus on political correctness at the macro level, how about some political correctness at the micro level? How about let's not buy into it anymore? You weren't put here to be feeble. You weren't put here to be brittle. You certainly weren't put here to be philosophically porous. You got to suck in whatever pesticide is circling around you. Don't be a part of the Generation Snowflake. Because Generation Snowflake isn't tied to a particular age. It's a mindset now. Oh, I'm offended. Then don't be. Oh, I'm mortally wounded by your words. Really? Really? Okay. Ding, 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 ding. Grand jury time. My words mortally wounded you. Really? Mortally wounded. Mortally. Like you got hit by a speeding train. Wounded you. Mortally wounded you. You got to work on the skin. A little bit too thin to make it in this day and age. And that's one of the things about the future that we have to guard against. It's only going to get worse. The more we let everyone know, sticks and stones, yeah. But names and words, they hurt just as much. As long as people know they can do it, they'll do it. Look at the news. Look at everything going on in the world today. So why leave yourself susceptible? Why be victimized? You weren't born to be bullied. All right, I found this other article that normally... Now, this is probably a great point. What am I supposed to say? Oh, if you text me at 331-684-7685, that's SOUL, the last four, standard, normal, whatever they are for your carrier, texting rates may apply. And also, this is a perfect time to say, not a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist, a licensed clinical, social, anything, not any of that. So in this next story, it's not a medical commentary. It's more of another thought experiment. And I found this fascinating, especially in light of what we were speaking of yesterday when we talked about the brain, the body, and your borders, right? The buffer, our immediate surroundings, our labyrinth. Now, I just want to read you the summary. It is in Science Daily this morning. The title, Autism is Not Just a Disorder of the Brain. The summary, quote, autism spectrum disorders are generally thought to be caused by deficits in brain development. But a study in mice now suggests that at least some of the aspects of this disorder, including how touch is perceived, along with anxiety and social abnormalities, are linked to defects in another area of the nervous system, the peripheral nerves found throughout the limbs, the digits, other parts of the body that communicate sensory information to the brain. Now, I have a very dear friend, one of my dearest friends, who dealt with this. So I'm not suggesting this is a commentary on autism. What I am suggesting is the more we study some of these other things, and this was they're encapsulating, Science Daily, an article that appeared June 9th in Cell. Says that other parts of the body are responsible. Quote, an underlying assumption has been that ASD, the autism spectrum disorders, but the ASD, is solely a disease of the brain. But we've found that that may not be the case, says the senior author David Ginty, professor of neurobiology at Harvard Medical School. Advances in mouse genetics have made it possible for us to study genes linked to ASD. So what did we find out through all of this mouse work? I'm going to jump to the bottom of the article. The sense of touch is important for mediating our interactions with the environment and how we navigate the world around us. So how is this applicable to what we would normally talk about? The sense of touch. Now, it's not just touch with our fingers. It's the sense of our extended brains throughout the body, right? Brains, body, borders or buffers. Hopefully more border than buffer. But it's how our brains are connected throughout our bodies and how our senses, those little things taking in all the information coming from the outside world, how it's one big complete package. So when we look at all natural being, it's not just our brain, but we're a brain in a body with a body in the labyrinth. So when we talk about meditation, a meditation could very well be, let's see, how about the feeling of holding a particular piece of paper or a book or a baseball, a golf ball, holding something in your hands, and not just thinking you know how it feels, but actually using your fingers to feel it. Or maybe a walking meditation. We talk all the time about how you just go for a little walk and sense. Not blindly just get from point A to point B, but sense what it feels like. It was a couple weeks back we were talking about the benefit of barefoot running and how they're saying the tactile connection of the toes with the earth activates huge regions of the brain. So when we look at articles like this and go, look, maybe we should use some more of our senses. Instead of just going, oh, I know what that is. Swing with yawn. I got it. No worries. Getting on to the next getting on. Oh, which reminds me of an article I saw this morning on Facebook. Let me pull it up real quick. Don't go anywhere. Someone offering a course on how to perpetually leave yourself in a goal setting, goal appointing. Hold on. Wants to sell you a course on how to leave yourself in the mindset of perpetually setting and achieving goals. No now, no happiness, no contentedness, no using your fingers to feel what you're actually feeling in the moment, but treating it as a speed bump, little platform to be able to launch somewhere else. I want to thank Tammy, threw it up on Facebook. At the end of your life, will you be happy with the picture you painted? And if the picture you're painting is constantly jumping ahead, you're going to get to your final day and go, wait, whoa, I didn't get a chance. I need some more brushes. I need another square foot of canvas. Thank you, Tammy, for that very much. Don't forget, you can throw up some stuff on Facebook. I try to check it throughout the show. Also, 331-684-7685. And again, better than I could have put it, at the end of your life, will you be happy with the story you have written? So thanks to Oliver. And to Tammy, at the end of your life, will you be happy with the picture you painted? Or are we constantly begin looking for just 5 more minutes? Need 5 more minutes. Well, what if there comes a time in your life, pencils down, that's it, no more, timer goes off. What are you going to do if you can't be happy with where you are in the moment? How's that going to help us? And the key to being happy, a key to truly a euphoric life, is what if we're not using our senses? We just think we know. But if we lightly put our fingertips over top of something, we take a moment to be engrossed right now where our fingertips are. That's a meditation. When's the last time you said, I was sitting in a chair? Well, tell me specifically, how did it feel? How did it feel to sit in that chair? Your hamstrings, your tuchus, small of your back. Were there arms on that chair? Were you able to rest your forearms on it? How did it feel? Because in the end, that's what meditation is. Not to be pulled by some future carrot. Not to be taunted by the ramblings of another. Not to be so thin-skinned that everything on the outside automatically makes it inside to derail you. None of that. That's our meditation. That's how we begin to reconnect. We use all of our senses. Stop thinking of our brain as just something located right behind our eyes. But the brain extends to every region of the body through our nervous system. And I would dare say, the nervous system out into our buffer, into our border, into our surroundings, into our labyrinth. So are we too thin-skinned for our own good? Are we too thin-skinned? We weren't born to be bullied. So why get blown around by a piece of tumbleweed? That's not who we are. It's not who you are. So what are we going to do? Nice thing about thin skin, you can build it back up just like any other muscle in your body. It begins when we have our ego shield. Both ways. The macro, outside, we have that little bit of a buffer between what people say and what we automatically take to heart. Remember, 20-second victory. Breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon, take action. We can practice right now. Next time someone has something mean or cruel to say, are we going to be like Generation Snowflake?
Oh, the words just melted me. I'm just mortified. I'm humiliated. Your words injured me.
Really? Is that how you and I are going to be? The moment is pulling for you. It really is. The moment that you're in right now, your brain, your body, your borders, everything around you. The moment's pulling for you. But if we want to get distracted by the words of another, if we want to be snowflakes, then we don't get to sit around and cry at the end of the day because our snowflake melted. As I say all the time, right? Oh, well, my snowflake melted. Well, you're a snowflake, muffin. What did you expect was going to happen? Don't be a snowflake. Don't be so thin-skinned. Let people say what they're going to say. Let them. It's a free country, free world. At least last I checked. Who knows what next week holds? Let them say what they're going to say. What does it matter to you? You're above the fray. You're the port in the storm of creative. You're the port in the storm of just that creative fiction that other people throw up. Sorry, I didn't realize. No pun intended. Right? You're above all that. Let them spew. Let them vomit away whatever they think is important. It doesn't touch you unless you're a co-conspirator, unless you let it in. Or I guess you could go to Cambridge or Oxford, or you could go to some other institution of higher learning and be told that you should be thin-skinned, you should be woundable, that the words of an other should make you malleable, that will be able to mold you. Or you can stop being bullied, stop being blown around, stop being victimized. Because that's who you are. And when you bring your own bold, when you remember who you are, a 20-second victory, breathe in, exhale, scan your horizon, think, talk, take action, however you want to. But when we work to build the ego shield, the instant impact that we spoke of yesterday, the 20-second victory, breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, take action. When we do that, we work in a very small way to remember who we ultimately are and how we truly are above the fray. All right, there was all kinds of some other cool stuff that I wanted to get to, but I guess the underlying message of today is that don't leave your confidence subject to just the craziness of other people and the things they're going to say. It's not you. Let the walking, talking Venus flytraps, over here, come on in. It's nice and colorful and warm in here. Let them go. Let them go find somebody else to target. Leave the philosophical pesticides for someone else. It's not for you. It's not for you. We can start today. Is your mind a sanctuary or an asylum? What's the quote? The inmates are running the asylum only if you let them in. Only if you let their words in. Only if you let them in. How is it benefiting you to let them in? At some level, it must be. You and I only do what we think is going to benefit us. So for today, what if for one 20-minute victory, we go, no, we're not taking any orders. All lines are closed. There's no operators here. Don't bother calling. It's going to go right to voicemail, and then we're going to delete it before we even listen to it. I dig that. You want a goal? You want a carrot at the end of the stick? What say you and I for this weekend, when someone's got something crappy to say, we just go, well, I'm good. Thanks. You know, all their blathering buffets of negative critique. What if we just ignore them? Don't be victimized. Use the 20-second victory to regain the natural thickness of your skin. And remember, you weren't born to be bullied. So let's knock it off and get on with leading a truly euphoric life, because that's what we're here to do. Oh, I was eviscerated by his words. Oh, I was just mortified by what she said. You and I are above that. We don't need to be. We don't let anyone eviscerate us. We don't let anyone mortify us. We're not mortally wounded by the words of another. We have an all-natural being. We have an eighth of a brain. Oh, I'm so faint of heart. I can't believe they said that. Let's knock it off for this weekend. And then we'll hang out Monday morning. Thank you again for everyone that sent, for Oliver, for Tammy, some of the other texts that I got. Thank you so much. Let's have a weekend where we ignore all the crazies in our life. I think it's great. There's a happy hour for you. Ignore all the crazies. I'll be back with you live Monday morning. Until that time, please don't forget 2 things. allnaturalbeing.com. Leave me an email. I'll trade you mine. And just as importantly, as our our announcer is going to mention here in just a second, this weekend, let's promise each other that we're going to go ahead and bring your own bold.
You've been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
All right, just when you thought you were rid of me, I got another quick quote I wanted to mention. Quote, life is like driving 90 miles an hour in a never-ending snowstorm. Good golly, these people should be the writers. They're better at it than I am. So let's do this. This weekend, let's look at all the negative opinion, all those things out there. Let's look at it like we're in our car, windshield wipers on high. We're slapping around some windshield de-icer. Let all the snowflakes come. There's snowflakes. We got a windshield. We got wipers. We got de-icer. They got no hold over us.
IPMNation.com.